I'm Agent Morris with the NSA.
There is something real here.
Did you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
And where?
I know the exact locations, and those locations were provided to the Inspector General and some of which to the intelligence committees. I actually had the people with the first-hand knowledge provide a protected disclosure to the Inspector General. Biologics came to some of these recoveries.
Those could represent exquisite new adversary technology.
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still in the program.
The government is covering up some level of its knowledge and understanding about what some of those things are.
The Soul Foundation, which just announced a new initiative for UFO research and policy.
It's nuts, man. I mean, we're just small-town buds who saw a UFO in the woods. I mean, now we're hanging out with the government.
Wow. What floor were you guys on?
Hello and welcome to another edition of Anomaly-NOW, straight out of Austin, Texas. I'm your host, Miles Lewis. This is the usually weekly news and media roundup for the 501c3 nonprofit Scientific Anomaly Institute, aka Anomaly Archives. We're dedicated to the preservation of all things anomaly, records, artifacts, testimony, academic literature, popular literature, you name it. Anything weird, we're interested. That does have a wide variety of things. It is Thursday, June 4th, 2026, and thank you for joining us. You can contact us through all the different information down there at the bottom. The website, anomalyarchives.org. There's a P.O. box, there's a phone number, there's an email. What a concept. All right. Thank you for joining us. I don't have much time today, so I'm going to have to dive right in, but you can support us by going to patreon.com and signing up for our free membership there, but you can also support us with monthly donations. That makes a huge difference. You can also donate via PayPal or old-fashioned check to the P.O. box listed at the website. Just last week, we had our good friend Megan Keith present on altered states of consciousness using flickering light from the Paleolithic era, shamanic practices, countercultural substances to the modern state of neurological studies. It was a phenomenally great presentation. Thank you so much, Megan. Really appreciate your support and for providing such interesting information about a fascinating subject to our audience, our patrons. And very soon we're going to be making another past lecture from a year ago publicly available on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ can you guess it, Anomaly Archives. Yeah, all right. Well, we also are very, very excited to have a presentation coming up by let's see. Well, I'll get to that. Well, no, let me go ahead. So coming up this month, on Wednesday, June 24th, we are having a presentation called Strange Accidents, Anomalies at the Edge of Perception by David Metcalf. If you do not know who David Metcalf is, you've got great things in store for you because you're going to be fascinated by everything he has to say. This looks to be a phenomenally amazing presentation. He describes it as, this presentation reconceptualizes UFO UAP as accidents of total surveillance and products of a historical transformation in perception. As sensor networks, data infrastructures, and automated systems extend the reach of observation, they increasingly generate objects that exceed established interpretive frameworks. Moving beyond debates over what UAP are, the analysis functions on how modern enigmas of surveillance, detection, and hypercommunication produce anomalies as a structural feature of their operation. Yes, you can find out more about this, of course, over at the Anomaly Archives webpage. And in fact, I think we have, that'll give you some information there. Coming up Wednesday, June 24th. That'll be the anniversary of the birth of the modern UFO era, right? When Kenneth Arnold supposedly saw those very strange crescent-shaped objects skipping through the sky like a saucer thrown across the water that was then turned into the phrase flying saucers and influenced our society's, civilization's perceptions of the shape of these objects? Well. All right. And yeah, so where were we? You can go to patreon.com. You can go to flipboard.com/@anomaly-archives and see thousands of news articles that we're going to touch on today. Not thousands today, but well, I also want to give a big welcome to fans of American Alchemy. That's the podcast of Jesse Michaels. Thank you, Jesse. Thank you for featuring us briefly in one of his recent videos. He did a recent video going deep into the fictional story called Sentinels of Ether, supposedly written by Jake Barber, whistleblower Jacob Barber. And at about the 17-minute and some seconds mark of this recent Why the Pentagon Tried to Censor This UFO Book video, that's, I think, an hour and 37 minutes long, there is an image of our website where we have a page for this book. I found out about it maybe, I guess, 6 months ago, a year ago, I don't know, but it was all as an outgrowth of talk about Jacob Barber and his whistleblower claims. And boy, did we notice a huge spike, surprise, huge spike in our traffic to the Anomaly Archives webpage. Thank you, Jesse. Really appreciate that. And, we've gotten a lot of email inquiries as well. Folks, sorry, we do not actually have a copy of the book. We only have access to the same digital versions of the first few chapters that have been put out there. Allegedly, this book exists, but nobody seems to be able to find any copies of it. So, but the interesting thing about this Jesse Michaels American Alchemy video is they, through the use of AI, boo! I mean, it looks pretty cool, but come on, Jesse, stop with using the AI. I understand. I know why people do it. It's to save money, but it's killing the planet and people's jobs. Anyway, still an entertaining video. I very much enjoy Jesse's videos. He's got quite the sharp mind, asks very interesting questions. We'll come back to that soon. But yeah, we'd also previously, about a month or two ago, seen a huge spike, not as big as this one, but a large spike in traffic to the anomalyarchives.org website because people were looking for information on Amy Eskridge, one of the people who is getting lumped in with the missing and or murdered list of people, which honestly, folks, I'm highly skeptical of. I definitely think there's some very strange cases there, but I don't know. But she is an interesting case because she, like so many, had said, if I die suddenly, I did not commit suicide. And then she's alleged to have committed suicide. Anyway, thank you, Jesse. And thank you all the visitors and American Alchemy fans out there. We appreciate you coming to the website, and hopefully you'll stick around and find something else helpful or interesting. Yeah, we mentioned this is our next upcoming Anomaly Academy lecture with David Metcalf. Oh, there's some other interesting upcoming events. Let's see if I can pull those up. Coming up on Friday, July 10th, Breaking the Taboo, Reviving Academic UAP Abduction and Experiencer Research. We talked about this on the previous show. This is the latest summer symposium for the Center for the Impossible, aka AOTI, Archives of the Impossible, the Rice University event. But strangely, it looks like it's all been coordinated by Karen Austin of the Johnny Mack Institute. This announcement is over at johnnymackinstitute.org, and it's free, folks. So sign up, get ready. This should be very, very interesting. It's got a great lineup of speakers that you're going to want to check out. Okay, what were the other things we were going to mention? Oh, yeah. Coming up sooner than that, next Tuesday, June 9th, the push for UAP UFO transparency intensifies as members of Congress and whistleblowers call for release of groundbreaking conclusive files. This is going to be a press conference featuring David Grush, the UAP caucus members, and Leslie Kane, and more. It was exciting to see the Associated Press run this press release. It's not that the Associated Press was covering it. That would be much more significant if they actually wrote an article about this. Maybe they will. But yeah, they're just reproducing a press release, which you can read the entirety of. And excuse me. And yeah, it should be interesting. I definitely will be watching Tuesday, June 9th, and it's going to have a wide variety of people there, but it's more or less the same people we've been seeing for the last several years with all these UFO, UAP, and the quote-unquote bipartisan UAP caucus, but you know there tends to be more a predominance of a certain leaning political affiliation people, but yay. Okay, we're moving right along. Yeah, so again, with the missing and the murdered, or missing and possibly murdered, I'm jumping all over the place. Sorry, folks. I'm just very much out of it, and I really do not have much time now, so I'm keeping an eye on the clock. But yeah, so you can go to our Sentinels of Ether page for the fictionalized story by quote-unquote Alva Douglas, the nom de plume pseudonym for allegedly Jake Barber, and find links to information there, as well as, of course, this latest video by Jesse Michaels. And then, of course, we also have a page about Amy Eskridge, I believe also had the last name Pettigrew, who unfortunately passed, or Michael Sala, I think, is claiming that she faked her own death. Oh my God. Not a reliable narrator or investigator, but yeah, she passed back on June 11th, 2022, but you can find information about her and links to past videos that she did at our website. All right. Yes. So, yes, that leads us to news on the missing or murdered myths. I spoke about this in a previous episode. I'm not going to repeat myself, but these are old tropes in the UFO community, in the UFO mythology. There have always been people who died suddenly and sometimes suspiciously that people have speculated about, wondered about, and we're going through another phase of that. But it also has strange connections to a famous hoax perpetrated by a show on the BBC back in the late 1970s, that purported to be about a plan to save humanity called Alternative 3. Aren't familiar with that? If you research that, you will see so many of the tropes that you see now, and as part of this missing or murdered scientists mythology, that it may give you pause to wonder about where we are at now. I've also mentioned this largely AI-driven news site called the Sentinel.network, and they've done a couple of pieces on Lou Elizondo where some would say hit pieces, but it's very interesting, some of the things that they have to say. This one's called The Proximity. Louis Elizondo acknowledged 2 of his own contacts in 48 hours. Both are dead. A third contact whose disappearance he has also publicly commented on is missing. The architecture we mapped in April has a body count. Yeah. I'm not really a fan of this channel, this blog, this news outlet, this whatever the heck it is. But occasionally they do some articles that I find very intriguing, and this is one of them. Yeah. And there was some news. I'm not going to show you the page for this, but you can click through. Yeah, Melissa Cassius's body has been found. Headline: Human remains found southeast of Taos, identified as missing LANL worker, Los Alamos National Laboratories worker. This is over at the Santa Fe New Mexican.com. You'll have to turn off your your ad blockers in order to read the article. But yeah, there's other news outlet reporting on this. Her body was found where they had already looked, but that's not that unusual apparently as far as people miss things. It's very sad. They've not issued a cause of death publicly yet, as far as I know. A gun was found next to her body. Maybe we'll learn something more here, but yes, it sure feeds into this current climate of fear and paranoia about the idea of missing or murdered scientists. So this connected to American military industrial complex technological innovation labs like Los Alamos. And then another dark chapter in our history. Disclosure, quote unquote. I describe this as the depths of quote unquote disclosure depravity, because honestly, folks, this makes me so angry. Some of you who've seen my recent interviews on High Strangeness with Steve Berg, or AP Strange's podcast, or the Expanding Frontier. Well, actually, I guess it wasn't Expanding Frontiers. It was UFO Classified with Erica Lukes and Jack Brewer. But in all of these, I believe in all three of those interviews, we may have touched on the fact that people were speculating about the fact that the current administration had bought alien.gov and aliens.gov in the midst of the claim that there was going to be some big disclosure from this administration. Of course, then we got this PURSUE acronym, tranches of UFO UAP documentation being rolled out via DOW, Department of War.gov/UFO, UFOs, big whoop. There's interesting things there, but not that interesting. And several of us had speculated, and I think even Tim Burchett, had speculated that maybe the president was going to troll the UFO community with the aliens.gov. And guess what? That's right. Yeah, over at dailymail.com, not a bastion of news reporting, but White House sparks outrage after revealing true purpose of aliens.gov after months of UFO speculation. So if you go to alien.gov, aliens.gov, it redirects to whitehouse.gov/aliens, and the whole website is designed with this green glowing font. And I swear to God, when I first went to it, I believe it was playing the X-Files theme music. And surprise, surprise, it's not about UFOs. It's about quote unquote illegal aliens. And I know that in some of those interviews I did, I touched on the fact that this is an old joke amongst UFO folks that, we used to chuckle back in the day about the use of the phrase illegal aliens, because of course, here we all were interested in the idea of UFOs possibly being aliens, and the weird conjunction of these terminology for people who are not from here. And let's let that sink in. People. So yeah, a lot of people are rightfully pissed off. Even I'm no fan of Ross Coulthart, but even he was like, this is not appropriate. But then of course we've got our good friend Miguel Romero, Red Pill Junkie, over at Daily Grail, not Daily Mail, Daily Grail, Sunday Funnies, the Emperor's New Distraction. Seriously, that is their leader? ? Yeah. I don't think it takes a lot to guess that I just find this horribly offensive. And it just to me is exemplary of everything I personally, individually, not a reflection of the views of this organization, this nonprofit. I just have a real problem with this kind of shenanigan. Meanwhile, over at this person's Substack, Maze to Metanoia, there are no aliens in my care. Nursing taught me that no one's dignity is conditional. A new government website is built to make you forget it. And this is by Meredith Spearman, and I'd highly recommend you go check it out if you're offended by this. And if you're not, maybe you should read it too. But it basically just comes down to, when you treat humans as alien other, you've lost the plot. And when you use people's interest in UFOs and alien, quote unquote, non-human intelligence, when you use their interest in that as a way to troll a community, as a way to demonize a segment of the human population, I think there's something wrong with you. All right. Well, where was I? And lastly, I just would say, I find this very interesting. Donald Hoffman is having his moment in the ufological community. And that's not to say that his 15 minutes of fame, I think he's been around long enough, to garner a wealth of information, a wealth of discussion. I know several of my ufological friends, my folks, my peeps, my alien other peeps have referenced Donald Hoffman. No, this guy is no relation, as far as I know, to the Hoffman that created LSD, or other Hoffman of. But back in June 2015, so what, 11 years ago, he had a TED Talk called "Do We See Reality as It Is?" And that was probably how I first became aware of his work and this idea that, biologically speaking, despite what you might believe, that having the most accurate perception of your environment would have survival value and evolutionary value, that does not appear to be the case. That from his and others' research, they've been able to run simulations that can seemingly conclusively show that having a reduced version of your perception of reality that focuses on the things that keep you alive and thus able to reproduce and thus able to carry your genes forward biologically in this environment, in this universe, that's actually what our brains evolve toward, opening up the possibility that, well, we know that there's more out there than we can perceive just in terms of the equipment we have, the visual light spectrum that we can perceive with our eyes, the auditory range that we can perceive with our ears, the sounds, all these different things, all these different senses weed out the vast majority of what you actually are able to perceive. And maybe you're not actually able to perceive them, but again, the perceptual filters that we have survival value and take away that. Well, it should not surprise me, I suppose, that in the last week, I've seen a number of at least 4 different references within 2 days, maybe 3 days, of references to Donald Hoffman's work. Not least of which is another American Alchemy episode called MIT Scientist, quote, "Your brain evolved to ignore aliens. They're everywhere." I don't know if he actually says that. I haven't listened to the entire episode, but basically Jesse Michaels interviews Donald Hoffman and has a very interesting conversation with him that so from what I've seen so far, as usual, I'm like, wow, Jesse asks some very interesting questions and elicits new things from this researcher that I had previously not heard him speak about. So definitely want to recommend that, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching more about that. But perhaps the thing I most want to bring people's attention to is this latest article and video by Kelly Chase, formerly of the UFO Rabbit Hole, now of Inquiry with Kelly Chase, also co-producer of the Cosmosis documentary. And my gosh, she continually impresses me, and I really would recommend you go check this out over at her Patreon. You can read this, The Weaponized Wound, Trauma, Belief Engineering, and the Fatal Flaw in the Control Mechanism. It's really fantastic. You can listen to this through your various podcatchers, or you can watch the video at YouTube for free. You don't have to be a paid member, but she probably deserves your support. So yeah, check that out. And she in the course of that video, she definitely brings up Donald Hoffman and a number of other very important people and topic areas that revolve around the subject line that she's got there. And then coming up Friday, June 12th, my birthday, the same day that Disclosure Day comes out, Steven Spielberg's new thing, is an IONS, Institute of Noetic Science, panel production called Lighting the Path for their Giving Day 2026 on Friday, June 12th. And this is a special event. It's free. You can sign up for this online webinar panel discussion, but it's going to feature Donald Hoffman, as well as some other folks I'm less familiar with, Teresa Xiong, Dean Radin, and Helena Wabe, and others. And we got the link there. You can find out more, and it's free. Again, you can sign up and check that out for free. And then this article by Nick Cook. Of course, Nick Cook is, of course, most known for his Hunt for Zero Point book back in the day. But over at his Substack is an article that he just put out on June 3rd, The Pope, the Machine, the Outlier, and the Unknown, Why the Age of AI May Transform Human Perception. And lo and behold, down in the body of it, he has a section, Hoffman's Reversal, where he says, for decades, the cognitive scientist Donald Hoffman has been advancing one of the most controversial ideas in modern consciousness research, that evolution does not select for truth. It selects for fitness. According to Hoffman's earlier interface theory of perception, the world we experience is not objective reality itself, but a simplified user interface shaped by evolutionary pressures. Space, time, and physical objects function less like ultimate reality and more like icons on a desktop. This is an analogy that he uses all the time. The metaphor sounds radical, but Hoffman's argument is mathematical as much as philosophical. Across multiple evolutionary game simulations, agents tuned toward accurate perception consistently lost to agents tuned toward fitness, optimization. Organisms that perceive reality, quote unquote, as it truly is, Hoffman argues, are outcompeted by organisms that perceive only what is useful for survival. Hoffman often illustrates this with the simple evolutionary argument, yada, yada, yada. But this is, he says, I'm jumping down here, but in recent weeks, Hoffman appears to have moved into even more destabilizing territory. Speaking on the American Alchemy podcast, Hoffman discussed an emerging mathematical framework he calls recursive trace logic, an attempt to formalize consciousness not as a byproduct of spacetime, but as something more fundamental from which spacetime itself emerges. At the center of the model lies a striking proposition. Embodied consciousness, Hoffman suggests, may represent an exceptionally constrained and highly specialized case within a vastly larger space of possible conscious systems. The normal case for consciousness, Hoffman argues, is not to be embodied. This phrase has already begun circulating online in distorted form, often interpreted as a claim that bodies are unreal or impossible. But that is not what the mathematics appears to imply. When Hoffman describes the appearance of embodiment in the universe as, quote unquote, probability zero, he is using a technical idea from mathematics. A probability of zero does not necessarily mean something cannot exist. A single point on an infinite line has probability zero and yet still exists perfectly well. Anyway, you can go and read more about this at nickcook.substack.com. There's a blog called Rogue Icons. And yeah, check that out. All right. So yes, there's a ton of other stuff over in the Flipboard that you'll want to go check out. I'm not going to put the links in the show notes, but you should go check this stuff out. There's a 2-part article from The Observer. I quit my corporate job to carry the mantle of Fate magazine, parts 1 and 2. Wow. So this guy has acquired Fate magazine. And I guess that means it's got renewed energy and renewed life. That's pretty wild. And he's already been doing great work with the Observer newsletter. This article also made me aware that apparently Phyllis Gauld, pictured there in the middle, who has been running Fate, I think since 2003 or thereabouts, that she also runs a zine called Species Link Journal, which is all about telepathy with other creatures, non-human intelligence. Species Link, the Journal of Interspecies Telepathic Communication, and they're up to issue 100. Go check that out. I was unaware of this, and I'm very excited to learn about it. Meanwhile, other news articles: priest removed as exorcist after his comments on UFOs and demons. This other article: 1 out of 4 Americans say they've had near-death experiences, according to major survey. There's a new article by Susan Demeter, a nature spirit or something else. There's also this BBC article, The Amazon's Lost City has been widely misunderstood. This is a true story. Micah Hanks over at thedebrief.org writes article, 11,000-year-old major discovery in Canada could challenge, quote, everything we thought we knew, unquote, about North American prehistory. My acquaintance Joseph Laycock over at thebaffler.com has an article called Territorial Spirits. Over at Riz's Substack is an article that sounds very interesting, The Avatar Hypothesis for UFOs, UAP. There's this article, At the Edges of Explanation, over at Psychology Today. There's so much great stuff here, including stuff on cryptozoology. Underwater drone joins annual hunt for Loch Ness Monster over at standard.co.uk. This article over at burialsandbeyond.com. Rosemary Brown, composer of the dead, about a medium who channels music from deceased musicians. Oh, and one of our favorite ghost photographers, Shannon Taggart, is interviewed over on Jeffrey Mishlov's New Thinking Aloud. And this article was brought to my attention by Howard Rheingold's Patreon, 4 to 6-year-olds developing metacognition and its association with learning outcomes. Fascinating stuff. Anyway, it just goes, there's so much great stuff to read, so many great links. I highly recommend you go check it out. If any of this is valuable to you, please consider joining and supporting the Anomaly Archives. Again, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We need your help. I hate to try to be a salesman and sell you on supporting the Anomaly Archives, but we absolutely need your tax-deductible donations. You can send a check through the mail. You can send money through PayPal. You can sign up through Patreon, or just help spread the word. Just like and subscribe, hit the notification bell on our YouTube videos. Tell people that you think would be interested in our content or who also might want to support us about us. And we've been in existence since 2003, so 23 years of providing information to the public about these wide array of anomalous subjects, etc. All right. Well, here again at the bottom of the screen are all the contact information you could possibly need. Thank you so much. And that's going to do it for us. Good night. Good day. Happy tomorrows.